All right, so just going to intro our offensive options that we're about to cover. So we've got going towards X guard where I move my head away. On the near leg, that's usually if Hugh's not blocking my leg, I can start going towards X guard here. Or if he drops his weight and blocks my leg, then I've got options to attack from there. If he really drives in towards me, I go back to the far leg and I start to attack on this side. And if I have the chance to elevate the leg well, I can start to spin underneath for a few different options. I can start going towards reverse half guard. I can start going towards a bolo. Or I can look for the crab hook and pop out towards the back. We're now covering the waiter sweep itself, which is where I tilt Hugh straight backwards, like so, and I can roll on top. I'm teaching this as the first technique in the waiter position, just because it is good if your opponent is unaware of what to do. I think it's a much less common sweep to get once they know how to balance themselves, but you can get it, and you should take it if they're kind of giving it to you, right? So first off, you're going to want the underhook. Again, if you've got an overhook, you can waiter sweep, but it's a little more risky because I have to extend my legs, which opens potential for an underhook. Okay? Whereas if I've underhooked the leg, I'm not so worried about Hugh taking an underhook on me. Right? So if you don't have the underhook, again, swing your feet up close to the shin, pummel your underhook here, make sure the foot's dangling. All right? So Hugh's hovering over the top of me, and his weight is kind of upright, enough that I can just push his weight backwards. So I hold this leg, and I've underhooked the free leg. He's kind of floating. He doesn't have this foot on the ground. His leg's just floating. I'm going to lift my inside leg up and start to push back with a back heel on this side and my knee pushing back on this side. All right. Now, when you do this, make sure your partner tucks their foot in like Hugh is. So see how he's got his foot tucked? More for his sake, just when we're doing this, because it can be an awkward way to fall if he's got his foot out. Okay, so his foot's out and he goes backwards over it. It's kind of weird on his knee as I start to get up, right? So just for your partner, to get them to tuck that in, if you are practicing this, I push like tight like this. So see how it's my heel and my knee pushing like that. I don't want you to extend here because then you do risk people starting to attach to the leg and get more controlled. So I keep this tight, keep his foot off the ground by lifting, my hips up, pushing with my leg, like so. To get on top from here, I want to take my leg back. Okay, so take my foot from above the knee line to below the knee line. I reach over the top and I roll through. So you end up in an over-under position. Okay, make sure you're still blocking their leg when you get up there. So I don't want to have this foot coming free like this. You could risk a triangle choke because you are underneath the far leg. Right? So as we get up, we'll do that again. Hugh's here, I've knocked him down. See, I've almost like changed to like a half guard on the leg as I come up over the top so he can't retract this leg, and I come up into good position on top. So just to demonstrate, if you lose the leg and bring your arm over the top, Hugh will lock up a triangle. So it is essential that I keep this leg trapped either with my legs pinching or my arm blocking his knee. Okay, even if I open my leg and he tries to bring his leg up, if my arm blocks the knee, that will kill it. Okay, but if this is too high, I don't block his knee, he can trap it. Or if I don't trap with my legs. So we're in the waiter position, I swing back, make sure I get the underhook here. I'm reaching underneath both legs. Hugh's quite tall, so I back heel, lift my hips up, push with my knee as I pull the foot back. Hugh falls down. I take my legs out, down towards his ankle as I reach over the top, block the knee with my arm, and get on top. So now I'm going to go through getting to single leg X or X guard on the near leg. Whether you go to single leg X or X will depend on whether you're overhooking or underhooking the leg. If you're underhooking the leg, it will become X guard. If you're overhooking the leg, it will become a variation of single X where I've got my knee on the outside and a hook, okay, as opposed to having your foot on the hip. Now, I'm actually going to show it into an Aoki lock just because that is often something you can immediately follow up with, right? So that's how I'll show it, but it could just be that you stop here and go to single leg X or continue with this hook variation of single X when you start to get up for a sweep. So we'll go with the overhook or just the grip around the ankle first, making sure I'm hiding that space for Hugh getting the underhook. Now the timing, when would I go for a single leg X entry? Well, when this leg is free, when Hugh's not blocking my leg. If he blocks my leg, I'm not going to be able to pummel my leg in front. If he's not blocking that leg and his weight's not too much this way, obviously if his weight comes really far this way, I start going under the to the X guard on this side, okay? But if his weight's still away from me, he's not blocking that leg, I'm just going to start to work to pummel my foot inside, okay? How do I do that? I want to get ideally with the overhook, it's not just holding the ankle, this is kind of loose, right? If I go towards single X here, there's a little vulnerability in this grip. I would rather actually get a good overhook of the leg, like so, okay? So, I'm hooking again near the calf. As I roll back, I can often change to a deeper overhook. Okay? Especially, this is a case where I could underhook or I could overhook. Maybe if he's curling his foot back a bit, the underhook seems risky because it's the smaller gap, but the overhook's more likely. Okay? Or I might just really like the footlock. If I like the footlock, the overhook's going to be the option to take because I can't footlock with the underhook. Okay? So from here, as I roll back, I'm going to take a deeper overhook. Make sure you're above the line of the ankle. Here's going to be no good. Occasionally, you can even use your other arm to help just secure for a moment. Okay? So again, if I feel like he's trying to free this leg and he's pulling free, I might even just hold while I upgrade to an overhook here. Okay? Now I want to move away. I can't pummel my leg on this 90-degree angle, but I can as I start to turn 180 degrees to here. Okay? So I push. I might even keep him away with this leg now as he's trying to come close. And I'm going to pummel my foot inside, knee, outside. Now when I want to pummel this foot, I don't take my whole foot through like this. This is kind of loose. If Hugh wants to move here, he's got a chance to bring his knee, maybe points his knee down or starts to straighten his leg and create space. I want to keep it tight. So actually what you should do when you have this overhook is pummel your foot to be tight against the leg. Now if he tries to turn his knee in, it's blocked. Okay, compare that to foot going in, turn your knee in. Okay, now I'm jammed. Look, this is going to be hard to get to, right? So I want to just get my foot in, then I extend and move my hips away. It's like my hips are moving backwards while I keep the overhook, and my knee drops to the other side. Okay, so you can see now I've got a hook on one side of the thigh, and my knee pressures in on the the side of the leg, kind of mid-calf, but on the outside, like so. Okay, so I've got this. If I pressure with my knee, it pressures Hugh's knee inwards. Okay, I can now put like internal rotation pressure on the knee. That's a counter pressure to what I want to do with the foot, which is go for the Aoki lock, like so. Okay, so if I have my foot in good position, my knee pressures in, my foot's pressuring out, and I'm twisting the foot like this. The finish actually comes usually mostly from the knee pressure. But you can see I take all the rotational slack out of the foot and out of the knee. Right, so now when I pressure my knee in, that's going to get the tap. So it's actually me like doing a side knee bar, just like the heel hook mechanics if you see my leg lock instructional. So again, when I'm here and I want to change, I go high overhook here. I'm going to pummel my foot. My shin goes to the thigh now to keep the knee up. I pummel my foot inside. Hips move away and knee goes to the outside of the calf. I want to then take the heel from the outside of my ribs, like it is now, to the inside. So I extend a little bit And you can see that lets the heel drop. Okay, let's just take a sweep bit. So as I extend, I go to the point where the heel actually slips, and I put my elbow pretty much on the inside of my thigh. You can do it like this, you can do it tight to your body as well. Sometimes the inside of the thigh is a good, you can see I connect here sometimes, or sometimes I put it close to my body. Right, and I get like a kind of, I call this like a genie grip, like I dream of genie sort of pose. So most of you are probably too young to know that. So then I'm pressuring in on the knee with my leg. I'm rotating I'm twisting my shoulders like this, sideways. Not upwards just yet, but sideways first, trying to use my body to rotate Hugh's foot outwards one way. Okay, so I've got my position, I get that, and then once all the slack's taken out, it can be somewhat of a bridge. I start to pressure in with my knee, and I can arch my back backwards. Okay, if you do the arch at first, you won't get any, like Hugh feels he can probably move out of that. Okay, I want to like take out the rotational slack first while keeping my knee high and tight. So my hips are actually coming in, pressuring in with my knee and rotating. Okay, don't stretch. Okay, as soon as I stretch, my hook's lost all tension. Keep my knee tight, hips in, pressuring, and finish. Aoki lock from waiter guard via single leg X. I'm going to extend, we get into the waiter position, Hugh drops his knee down, I roll back, and I feel like I can get a good overhook. His foot's poking through enough to get that overhook here. All right. From here, my other foot changes to the thigh. I pummel my foot to the inside, my hips move away, and I let my knee drop to the outside of his calf. From here, keeping this exactly where it is, I extend the leg away, allow the heel to slip in front, connect my hands together, rotate my shoulders first until there's tension on the leg, and then I arch backwards using my knee in pressure, and I extend on the leg. Right, so now working from when we get the underhook. So I'm in waiter, I roll back, and there's enough gap that I can underhook, or I might have entered into waiter with an underhook when I got the entry. Okay, so we've got we're going through two options when I can kind of turn away, when this leg is free enough to pummel to the inside. So if there's no block, Hugh's not blocking my leg at all here, then often we can just look to X-guard. Okay, there's going to be two options really. There's one when he kind of partially blocks my leg, where he's holding it, and I can still kind of pummel the leg through and across. And there's one where he's actually not blocking at all, which is where we can usually look to go to X-guard. Okay, so we'll go through the X-guard one now. I've underhooked the leg, I'm rolling back. All I'm going to do is block Hugh from closing the gap too much so I can post on his leg just so he doesn't come forward. If he drives his weight this way as I try to go X-guard, I'm going to get jammed up. This is not good. So I'm going to need my hand now to assist. My hand's going to block. I slide my leg to take over that roll. Okay, so we're here. I block with my hand, my leg and my shin. So my foot's hooking on the far hip and my shin is pressuring into Hugh. If he tries to move in towards me now, this is keeping distance. And there's plenty of room now as I slide my hand towards the end of the lever at the heel to slide my leg in and drop my knee underneath. Okay, so here, foot comes pretty much to the stomach. Again, this foot on the stomach is like a distance maker. If Hugh tries to close the gap, he can't. And I can just extend and drop my legs into the X-guard position. So I drop my top leg from being at the hip as a distance maker to become a hook so that he can't move backwards on that leg. Okay, because the distance making roll gets overtaken by my top leg pushing and then my knee dropping to the inside and getting to the X-guard. Okay, so at the last step, I've got the foot at my elbow. We extend. I want to sit forward. I don't want to push him to the point where I lose the leg. Okay, so as I push away a little, I'm sitting up and I'm lifting to bring the leg over the top of my knee. So it's on one side of my knee, becomes the other side. Okay, I retract my foot a little bit now to assist with that. And then I want to make sure I bring the leg on my shoulder, grip onto the knee. I have the X-guard position and we know how to attack from there from the X-guard position.
3, 2, 1.
So I talked about pushing the stomach to make distance. I think that's important, especially if Hugh's trying to drive in towards me and I can kind of push and make distance there. If I feel like he's more trying to pull away, then I'd probably do this a little more shallow. Okay, so you can see I just kind of tuck my foot just in front of the leg, swing it over the top, and everything's more compact because I am worried about losing the leg. So if he's trying to run away and I kind of push, I'm going to lose the chance to get that on my shoulder now. You can see my shoulder's further back, and if Hugh keeps backing away, I might lose the foot. Okay, so that's more of his pressuring in, and I want to block to catch the position. Whereas if he's trying to run away, I'm going to be more compact and take my legs just tight, just hooking here, not even blocking him from closing the distance because I know he's pulling away. So we enter into the waiter, we elevate to get the underhook. Hugh's not blocking my leg. If he's driving towards me, I can push and then extend to get into the X-guard position. If he's more pulling away from me, I keep tight and pummel just under without pushing away. A nice tight X-guard and work into position from there. So you want to react to how much your opponent is driving into. If Hugh is adamant he wants to put this foot to the ground, then I will switch back to the X-guard on the far side. So if I'm here, I'm trying to get this. Hugh, even if he's not standing up, if he's really trying to be heavy on that leg, I can swing my head towards that side and get it's a very compact modified X-guard on this side. It's very similar to the one we had earlier. In this point though, I'm not going to be able to step onto his knee. I'm too jammed up for that. I'm going to step on his calf and kind of try and use my legs to tilt him forward. So I step back this way and my leg pressing to try and get his hands to the mat. All right. My knee's still in front. I can start to get up and start to sweep from there. So again, if Hugh's driving in a lot, I can't go X guard on this side. I change, pull my head towards this leg, and make sure my knee goes in front. Okay, I'm curling back, so it's really wedged. You try and move your leg. His leg's stuck, and I want to find the point where I can step on his calf, turn his foot in, and knee in. See how that brings his hands forward. Okay, go back. I am levering like this to try and bring his weight forward with my knee behind the knee and my foot on the shin, like so. Okay. Once we're here, I can start to get up on my elbow and come up. All right, now we're dealing with the scenario where Hugh is pushing my leg, okay? And we'll go through two different options here, which are actually very similar, but I've either got the underhook, which means I've got enough purchase on the leg, right? Or I might just have the grip on the ankle, which is often when Hugh drops to his hip. This is very common. He drops and he pushes, and he's making it so when he does this, I can't really spin under. Like I've got no gap to spin underneath. And it's hard to get up too. Like I can't go back to De La Riva because my leg's trapped. If I try to get up, he's about to lose his leg. So to get up, I have to let go of the leg and he retracts it and I lose position. So this can be a really good defense, is to drop down and onto the hip and block the leg like that. Now, so what do we do here? Or, as I said, we're a little bit deeper where I've actually underhooked the leg like so, okay? So in both scenarios, I'm really going to try to get the leg into the 70-30 position. So I've got the leg, I'm gonna go across body like this with the leg, okay? So I'm gonna get an overhook and a hook underneath this thigh here, like so. Okay, this is an excellent position to start to set up leg attacks. We'll have a section on what to do once we get here. Just for now, we're trying to get into this position. I'm gonna do leg locks or sweeps from here, or back takes too. So the way we're going to do that is I'll talk about with the underhook first. Often if I've got my underhook, I can fold my leg, just my knee underneath. So even though he's holding my shin, I can drop my knee under by lifting my elbow up. So I use my leg to assist. So I elevate with my leg on the shin here, lift up. So you see the whole shin lifts up, and I turn in, like my hips towards you, head away, to drop my knee underneath. And I've now got a hook. So my knee's on one side, and my foot's on the other, and Hugh's foot is dangling here. Now the reason why we're going to pass it across is one, I think generally when you can pass someone's leg to the other side, that's a better control. It's harder for them to attack you. But two is it's very hard for me to attach to this leg here. If Hugh's trying to run away, my left shoulder's further away. Okay, so if you're backing away, I'm going to miss everything there. Whereas I can often keep the leg where it is, spin, and trap in my right arm, like so. Okay. So that's what we're going to work to do. Hugh's blocking my leg, I come under the calf, lift, and I drop. I'm pushing up with my elbow, dropping my knee inside until I get this hook. Okay. So from here, once my knee's one side, foot the other, I'll hold the leg with both hands, swing my head to the other side, like so. Now I can sit up and feed that leg. Okay, 70-30 position. So it's almost like on the way to almost like a reverse X guard. So it's important that you sit up with this. So as I'm here, obviously use the underhook, sorry. I get to here. If I keep the underhook, it's actually very hard to spin and turn myself. If I change to holding with both hands, I have more mobility to move my head, okay? If it's hooked here, how can I get the leg on the other side of my head, right? So I go changing to both hands, I spin, and I make sure my hook elevates now. So if Hugh's trying to run away, it's actually kind of hard to disengage. If I sit up, I can follow and feed from my left hand to my right overhook. I've got good position. So again, I swing up, I've got the underhook and Hughes blocked my leg. From here, I'm going to turn my head away, lift up with my right leg and my left elbow, drop my knee inside as a hook. 2 hands control the leg, stopping him running away. I swing to the other side, keeping that hook, sit forward, and take an overhook to get into our 70-30 position. Now covering a position here where I'm just holding the end of the foot and Hughes pushing my shin and he's trying to free his foot. If I let go to change a grip at all with my hand here, I'm going to lose the foot. So Hughes like to try and pull away. If I try to change to an underhook, keep going. Yeah. Good. So here, because Hughes pulling his leg away, if I let go at all to try to change to an underhook, I'm going to lose the foot and now I've lost pretty much everything. Okay, so what do I do in a scenario like that? Well, I can't follow up with any of my other attacks. I'm actually going to allow the foot to fall inside. I'm going to take my leg past the foot like this. So my leg's going to go from trapping the foot to outside the foot. And I'm going to look to take the leg across to the other side again. So I'm holding the ankle. From here, I'm going to swing back, grip with my right hand, and go like this. As soon as my foot comes out, I go 2-on-1 at the ankle. Okay, so now if Hughes goes to scoot away, I can stay with him to a certain degree, but not too well, right? What I want to get as well is my foot hooking like this. Okay, it keeps me a little more stuck. If you scoot away now, I'm more attached. Okay, this hook pulling in towards me with my knee plus 2 hands can keep me attached for a moment, right? As that happens, I'm going to then feed the leg to the other side, sit up, and get that overhook like we did from the underhook position. Okay, so I'm going to feed across, swing my head, sit up, and I overhook the leg. So I'm just hanging on to the end of the foot here. Hughes trying to pull it away. I'm actually going to roll back with my hips, so bring it as close to my chest as possible. Try to grip onto the leg as I take my leg out. Okay, so again, he's holding the leg. I take that out and grip it with 2 hands. I've got my right foot hooking, but that's okay for a moment. I want to change it to my left foot. So I'm going to pendulum, hook, like this. And now as Hughes trying to pull away, I sit forward and I take an overhook into the 70-30 position. Now I'm going to add this because this will happen a lot. You'll often still lose the foot. Okay, so by doing this is going to set me up to good positioning anyway. Okay, so often what's going to happen, Hughes moving backwards, I feed the leg across and I still lose the foot. I then will jam the foot down. I've got my hook. What position do I have? Like De La Riva, ready for the bowler. Okay, so I jam it down, reach under my leg, and I can come in for the bowler. All right. So that will look like this. I change, hook, I sit up, Hughes manages to escape, push it down, through to the berimbolo. So one more time, Hughes blocking my leg. I can't get any sort of X-guard entry. He's dropped his hips, so I can't spin underneath. And I'm just holding on to the end of the leg. So I don't have great positioning. I'm going to roll back, change to my right hand, take my left leg out, 2-on-1 as I pendulum my leg to get the hook. If I can, I sit forward, 70-30 position. If I miss that and he scoots back, I force the knee down, reach with my hand, and roll through for the ball. We're now looking at back takes. So there's 3 options we're going to cover mainly. 4 really. There's going to be one more fancy one we'll do at the end. Okay, so there's 3 main options, and the first one I'm actually going to show I think is probably the least effective and most risky, but it's probably the easiest to practice and get your head around. So that's why I'm showing it first, and that's to basically just spin your head out the back and try to fight from reverse half guard. So I'm basically I'm basically going to pop my head out the back and start to fight here. Usually Hugh drops his hips here, down, and we're in the reverse half guard position where I'm going to try to take the back here. But there's risk with that because potentially in reverse half guard, Hugh could set up a guard pass too. The next one we'll cover is using the crab hook, where I elevate, get a hook, and I use that to open the space to pop out towards the back and take the back. The last one will be basically the berimbolo from the waiter, where I'm going to take my foot and I'm going to pummel it in front out to here and keep that in front as I come out towards the back. Right. So 3 different options there, plus one fancy one we'll cover at the end. Reverse half guard and how we get here from the waiter position. I basically just need room to pop my head through this gap. Okay. Usually the reverse half guard one is when Hugh's trying to step over the top of my head into a back step position, but you could force this as well. So what Hugh's looking to do is bring his hips to the other side of my head, get into reverse half guard and potentially pass from here. Now, first off, anytime you're bringing your head in, you really want to, like, if I'm starting to move towards this direction, really watch the underhook, because I could have been, like, I'm hiding my underhook here, but when I start going this way, I often open up, and this is going to be very dangerous if that occurs. Okay, so just be wary of that you kind of like ball up as you pop out the back. Don't try to do this flat. Okay, if I try to go flat as I go underneath towards the back, this is disastrous. So you really need to ball up and spin like this. Try and take an underhook now. Even if I've got the overhook on the leg, my elbow's tight, I'm giving enough space that I can start to work towards the back. So the other thing to note is I'm spinning on myself, not like towards Hugh this way. Again, it's the same thing with the underhook, but if I roll back, I can spin on the spot. So the space is created by my own body. I'm kind of spinning under my own space when I do this. So it doesn't it's not as unlikely to have a block to me actually spinning. Okay, sometimes people will pick up your head or try to make things difficult here. Could be use your other arm as well. Try that. Yeah. Even then, if I roll back and lift my hips up, that's not going to block me from having space to spin underneath. So that's how we're getting the spin under in this scenario. Now I'm going to want to grip the far hip like this, not the leg. It's a huge difference. If I go on the leg, just sit on my arm now. Now my arm's stuck and I can't actually move it, okay? I want to reach under from like this angle here to the hip, not down near the knee, okay? You see the difference there? The knee, it can get trapped. Here, sit down here. I can always take my arm out if I don't like it, okay? When it gets sat on though, my arm's stuck, all right? So we're reaching to the hip bone. I roll back and I start to pop my head out. Okay? I'm just keeping the leg light because if I keep the leg light, I can kind of guide his leg where I want it as well, which is in front of me here. Right. Now, for the reverse half guard, which as I said is the more risky one to do, I'm expecting Hugh, as I come out the back, to start to drop his weight down here. We will have a section on reverse half guard on how to attack from here, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but just some things to be aware of as you pop out to the reverse half guard in terms of not allowing your opponent to get good control. So what Hugh's got right now is he's underhooked my arm. He's controlled the space between my arms and my legs. This is really bad for me. I don't want that to happen, okay? So what I want to do, if we go back, I want to be here. I want to have him low down on my hips. See how my forearms block Hugh from moving high. So he can underhook, he can like hook my hip, but this is not such a good control. And if he tries to move up my body, he can't. If he's able to open my arms up here, this is really bad. So as we pop out the back, we're reaching to the hip, but I'm pulling my forearm across the back to stop Hugh from moving higher. Okay, try and move higher now, and he's blocked. I also don't want Hugh to get an underhook on the near side. Okay, this allows him to face me, and I haven't got a back take anymore. If his arm's in the way of me and his back, that's a real problem. So I want his arm on the far side or away so I can actually see his back and look to take the back. So what I need to stop that underhook is no gap between my chest and Hugh's body here. If I allow space, he can put his elbow down and arm on this side. If we go back, I want to completely take that space up. So both hands are framing, but they're also going to pull towards. Try and get an underhook now, Hugh. I don't want his hips to be able to move away. Hip escape. Now he's made the space. Put your arm in. Okay, big problem. So I'm pulling his hip with my hands, but I'm also going to use my legs. So in terms of my hands, I'm going to want one hand low and one hand high. So the low one stops his hips moving away, and the high one stops his upper body moving away, both of which could create room for an underhook. So if he moves his hips away, there's room for an underhook. And if he moves his upper body away, there's room for an underhook. Okay, so we end up needing this too low or too high will not be enough. We will start with this grip as we pop out to the back to pull him in, but we're going to change to this. Lastly, the elbows must be locked in. If you open your elbow, I see a lot of people reach like this. You can fall backwards on my arm. I get stretched out, I expose my back. Okay, it needs to be forearm locked tight. I don't want Hugh to move his hips away, and because obviously if he moves his hips away, he can get that arm in, so just scoot your hips away. Now he's got space for the underhook. So I can use my legs to stop that. I can curl and hook his knee with a back heel, okay? Above the line of the knee here, so not at the calf. The calf won't stop it. Hip escape now. You're gonna make space, okay? But if I capture the knee and either step on the ground and drag his knee back, or even just back heel sometimes, if Hugh moves his hips away now, it's less, okay? Compared to not hooking, you can do it a lot further, okay? Combining this back heel with my arms pulling in and my chest coming tight, now if he tries to make space for the underhook, that's very difficult. The last consideration here when I pop out to reverse half guard is Hugh might try to take my back. So the action I'm going to do is I'm going to get up and start moving towards Hugh's back. But Hugh just as likely might turn towards me. As I start to get up, he might turn towards my back and start to take my back. Okay, so how do I stop that? Well, this can happen if my knee is low. See my knee low down on Hugh's hips, like so. So as I get up here, I'm exposing my back to Hugh. Right. If instead my knee comes high up on his chest, it's almost like blocks him turning to face me, and it makes it very difficult for him to get access to my back. When my leg goes between his legs, that's kind of like a hook that he can get on my back. When my leg's up here, he can't get a hook on this leg. It lets me have the advantage, and I'm pulling that tight to the chest as I pop out to the back. So putting that together now, I'm going to roll my hips back so I can spin on the spot. I'm going to reach underneath to the far hip. I'm going to start to spin my head out the back and look to close those gaps off as soon as I do. So as I pop my head out, my left hand is going to reach to the far hip. So as I pop out the back, I reach to the hip. I'm going to pop my head, and as soon as I can, I want to pull Hugh towards me to get his hips close. I want to pull him down here, and I scoot myself back on the ground so I can get my forearm in front. I don't know if you saw that. I did a little hip escape. Pop up again. So as I pull him down, I scoot backwards so that he doesn't land high on my body. Okay, now I've got my forearms in position. I'm holding the leg. I change so that my right leg traps Hugh's leg. Now I can start to get up and take the back, right? So when I go to get the back, I'm going to turn belly down. So my right leg traps Hugh's leg. It lifts up. I drive off the ground to turn belly down. And as I lift up, I bring my knee tight high on his chest. I drive off the ground, shoot my knee behind Hugh's back, and then I sit down on my hip. Now by pulling him from my left hip to my right hip, I've got the back. So as I curl the foot, I lift the knee up. Don't hook it like a twister hook. This would be a mistake. I'm actually curling back. If you've got a hook on it, that's fine, but the back heel is much more important than stretching out. You'll lose this, he'll take my back, okay? So curl back, knee tight to the chest, jam Hugh into it. My bottom leg, toes come back, drive off the mat with my left leg, which gives me room. See how that lifts my hips up? And I face the ground. I can bring my knee behind Hugh's hips. I sit on my left hip, then my right hip, and I can take the back. So I roll back, I lift up, I start reaching for the far hip, pop my head out, pull him tight, hip escape, pull him down low on my body. Hook, extend, lift up, post, drive, knee behind, curl back, take the back. So a safer option, instead of trying to go reverse half guard, is to get a hook, right? So a crab ride hook, which means my foot's on the inside and knee on the outside. Okay. Now, as I said earlier, you're not going to be able to get this when you're 90 degrees to your opponent here. I actually want to be head on the near side, so sorry, on the same side, same plane as Hugh almost, like this. Okay. Now, as I lift up, I've got room to insert that hook. All right, so we're going to be here. I'm going to roll back just like before, and I change to lift the leg with my hand. Okay, give plenty of room to put that hook. If the leg's not lifted, you're going to be jammed up. Okay, so I'm going to roll back here. I can use my right leg, left leg, and then my right leg again. Start with your foot on the inside of the knee first, and then move your knee behind second, usually as you spin. Okay. Now I want to keep Hugh's foot off the ground, ideally with this one. So I'm going to pop my head out the back, keep my hook, and reach to his hip. So your grip exchange is really important here. I lift. It's on my calf now, so drop your leg down. It's kind of tough because my calf and my arm are holding it. I put my hook in. I start reaching for the hip as I spin, like so. And I end up with the weight on the hook, just on the calf here, and my grip pulling him inside my knee, okay? So I want to extend Hugh out now as I pull down. Okay, making his hips land in front of me like that. So I want to pop my head out the back, not let Hugh put weight on that leg. As soon as he puts weight on that leg, he can use it to pivot and move, and it's going to be, he could run away, everything's difficult. If his leg is light, I pop his leg in front of me, and I want his hips to land down here, or even lower than my hips is ideal, okay? So I'm going to use my hook to guide him as I reach to the top of the hip, and then I start pulling down on this hip to drop his hips down in front of me here, where I can start to take the back. Now it's really important that your hook is correctly placed. If my see how my knee's lower, my foot's high, you can kick off that quite easily. Okay. I want to have my, probably, if anything, my knee slightly higher than my foot. Okay. You can see here my knee's kind of higher up than my foot. It's harder for him to back step off that hook. All right. So again, we roll back, we get our hook like so. It can be down near the ankle, that's fine. I need to make sure my knee's above the knee line though. Okay. Like this. As I spin underneath, I extend out, pull at the right time. Don't pull here. Wait till you can pull him in front of your hip. Okay. Now, make sure, see how I took my left leg, this leg back, so it didn't get jammed. You don't want to give a knee bar, so we go back. If I leave this out, I might give him a chance to grab my leg and attack that leg. It's hard for him to get a knee bar, but he can attack something from there. But just retract that leg as I go through. So ideally, Hugh lands in front of my hips. If he doesn't, I'll show you how I try to force that to happen. Okay, so I roll back, pummel my foot, change to the hip, and Hugh might sit here. Okay, if that's the case, he's sitting here. I keep my crab ride hook like this. My other leg goes to the ground, and I do a few hip escapes. If I lift his leg up, he can't drop that space, so he can't block my leg. So I start to scoot, scoot, scoot. Okay. And now I've got access to the back. Right. So by keeping this hook, both hands pushing his hips downwards, like gripped on the top of his thigh, I can scoot backwards and expose the back. So we get to the waiter, we elevate the leg, change to lift the foot up, spin our head under, shoot our hook through. As we do that, I'm going to reach to the hip, pop out the back, and try to extend Hugh in front as I pull his hips down afterwards. If he lands a bit high, then I keep him elevated, foot to the mat, hands are over the hips, and I scoot back until he's dropped lower than my hips, and I can look for a seatbelt. So our next option is what I call the waiter bolo. Okay, so we're actually going to go for essentially a berimbolo, setting it up from the waiter. My preference is not to go for the reverse half guard entry because of Hugh being able to block my leg. I much prefer going for a bolo entry, which we'll talk about. Okay, but let me just introduce that by saying when I pop out towards reverse half guard, if Hugh blocks this leg, he starts pushing it early, and I take my head out the back. It's very hard for me to attach to the back because I can't climb this leg up high. So if he keeps blocking that, it's really hard to advance my position. I want to win this battle beforehand. So I want to actually get inside positioning on this arm. I want to make sure my leg's inside this arm so he can't push it off. Right? When my leg goes inside that arm, it stays in front, and that can help me set up the back take better. So we're going to do that. We have this position that's halfway between waiter and a berimbolo. Okay, so if you imagine if I span all the way through with the waiter, I'd be in the berimbolo here, like the De La Riva, like I'm trying to take the back, right? And if I span under from the berimbolo, I'd be back in the waiter. And I want to be halfway between that. So I'm actually spinning my head to about here. Okay, it's like my head's in line with the whole body's in line with Hugh's leg. Okay, so from this position, I can start to try to get inside positioning on that arm with my leg. I don't continue out where Hugh could start to block that leg. I want to fight from here. Okay, so I'm going to reach my hand for Hugh's far hip. Make sure I'm right underneath and he can't just back away here. From here, I'll show you without, so don't block my leg yet, I'll just kind of show. I want to take my foot inside and hook it in front of Hugh's chest or shoulder here, okay? And when I do that, I then want to take that, see the space here? So Hugh could pummel his arm back in that space and push my leg away. I want to take that space away by keeping my shin tight. Now pummel inside that. He can, but it takes a bit longer, okay? Can you see that? So it's not so easy, especially if I start to move once this happens. Okay, so I don't want to leave a big gap here, for example, where he just pushes it. I want to make that difficult by keeping this leg attached here. Okay. Now, if he tries to clear this, it's difficult to do. I can keep good pressure with my leg. So I elevate my hips, I lift the foot up so I've got room to move. I'm going to reach for that far hip, just like I would if I was going to reverse half. And then I want to start pummeling my foot in front. Don't worry about foot locks here. Especially on this leg. In fact, if he goes for some sort of toe hold or something, that actually helps you to take the back. So I elevate my hips, I'm going to pummel my foot in front of this shoulder, and I close this, it's kind of hard for me to show because he's up, but as I pop my head out the back, I'll close that gap with my shin. Okay, so as I pop out, make sure my knee and leg stay tight against the shoulder. Even if it means I drop my left leg low. Okay, I want to keep this pressure here, okay? Because it's hard for Hugh to win that battle, which is a really important battle to win. So if he stays up, which will usually happen when you're practicing and demonstrating the move, when your opponent's not defending, often they stay up. If he stays up, I'm still on the far hip, I start getting up on my bottom leg, and I start climbing towards the back, okay? So notice I keep pressure and attached with this the whole time. And I start to build my base up on my bottom leg. Okay, so it's like my knee. I get up on my knee and I retract it so that I can keep pressure here. And I start working around towards the back. If you were to fall down here, I'm actually halfway through a berimbolo. If I keep my shin here, keep falling. I keep rolling, and I can take the back. So I pummel my foot inside and I pop out the back. So I've talked about getting up if he stays up. If he falls on his back, I can keep my hook on his ankle, other shin across his body. We call this a shallow berimbolo. So if he falls back, I keep those same controls. See, still on the ankle, still on the shin, and I can expose the back. And if he tries to sit to reverse half guard, my shin blocks him getting any control of me. So as I pop out, if he tries to sit to reverse half guard, my shin being in the way stops him even getting any chance with this arm of controlling my hips, okay? So I can pull him in close and start to take the back immediately. With this, there's a little pummel to get your foot in position. You can use both feet. So as I start trying to get this, obviously Hugh starts pushing away. If he pushes this leg, that's fine. I can still pop my shin in and start working towards the back. But if he pushes the leg that I want, I can use my right leg. I step on his armpit and I push. I can clear that, keep that space open until my left leg starts to get in position. Okay, so now my leg's in position, it's tight. I start working up towards the back. So in summary, I roll my hips back, elevate the leg, I spin under to this kind of halfway to half bolo position, and I will pummel, lifting my hips up, making sure I can get my foot in front of Hugh's shoulder. Once I have that, I start to pop out the back with a few options. If I can, and he stays somewhat up, I keep my leg attached, start getting up. If he sits back and falls back, I can go for the bolo. Or if he starts dropping towards reverse half guard, so he starts sitting down, I keep my shin in front, blocking that arm, and I start to pull him to the side, looking to take the back from there. our last spin to the back is a little more of a fancy one. We use it from what we call the reverse wader. So if wader was here with my right leg inside and left leg outside, then reverse wader is when I've got my left leg inside and right leg outside, like this. Okay, so to transition to that, I'm going to step on the hip and I'm going to place my left foot just inside, like so. Okay, so just inside the knee, like that. Again, trying to stop Hugh from turning his knee in. From there, I take my right foot and I put it just above the line of the hip with my knee dropped down. So not too deep. I have to watch heel hooks or him controlling that leg, but just shallow enough here that he can't really attack that leg. Once I have that in place, I can start to hook my left leg through underneath the calf so he can't back heel and close off this gap. Okay, again here he could maybe back heel and close this gap off. I want to keep that gap open by being at the calf. Okay, so I'm back heeling with my right leg now, and I'm extending up, creating space with my left leg. I'm going to lift my hips up, lift the leg, and then I roll through out to the back. Okay, so by rolling backwards, lifting my hips up, and then kind of retracting and curling in, I can start to get this X on the leg here, reach to the hip, and we end up with our crab ride style back take. So from the reverse wader entry, we step on the leg, pummel that foot just to the inside with that foot on the inside of the knee. Other foot, my right leg, goes just past the hip, and then I hook underneath. Elevate, roll back, lift the foot, curl in, capture the hip, and I start to extend the leg down as I pull out towards the back. So where I often end up in the reverse wader is I go for the berimbolo. Hugh starts to step over the top, like so, and that's a counter to the berimbolo. We end up back in De La Riva. Okay. So often to deal with that, we can go to reverse wader. So the time to capture this is as Hugh steps over, I change to reverse wader. I've changed my feet. Right foot on the outside, left foot inside. Hugh should drop to his knee because he doesn't want to get X-guarded. Okay, and then I'm in position now to spin out to the back.